Hi, I'm Chris Reynolds, and I'm on a mission to help independent financial advisors build a better business through a remarkable client experience. In this podcast, you're going to learn how to do that from my conversations with the visionaries, the leaders, the independent advisors who are reshaping the future of the financial advice industry. At the end of each episode, you're going to walk away with an actionable idea that you can take and use right now, and it will help you to build a better business today. This is Turning the Page. The other day, I was combing through Netflix for something to watch, and I ran across the strangest thing, the Arnold Schwarzenegger documentary. Now, I don't know if you've seen it, but as a lark, I started to watch it. And I can tell you my expectations were fairly low. But I don't think anyone in the world doesn't know who this man is or can't recite his favorite tagline, "I'll be back." And yet, watching it, I got hooked. The longer I went into it, I was like, wow, there are so many lessons and inspirations you can take from this one man. And there, as my mind was churning, as I kept watching episode after episode, I decided to do a podcast on what I took from this documentary. So for those who don't know, Arnold Alois, I think that's how you say it, Schwarzenegger was born July 30th, 1947. And he was born in a little town in Austria. And who knew from this little town in Austria, from these humble beginnings, would become a man who would win Mr. Olympia 7 times. He would marry a Kennedy. He would become a successful real estate businessman, then become a movie star selling global blockbuster after global blockbuster. And then at the age of 56, ran for and became the governor of California in a country he was not born in. Any one of those feats would have been impressive, but all of them in one lifetime? I thought, this guy is amazing. And once again, I knew everyone knows about him, but did you know all the things that he did? So how did he do all these amazing things? Well, if you listen closely to the documentary, Arnold will actually tell you how he did it. And here's what I heard in my interpretation of what he was saying to be successful in all of these things. And the first thing I took out of it was never be satisfied. There is a real hunger in everything that Arnold says. And even from a very early age, he knew he wanted more. And he tells you this throughout the documentary. He had a relentless spirit and would never let himself settle. And he would say, never is it good enough. And when he say good enough, they've said this, and the saying comes over and over, good enough is the enemy of great. But he would never let that happen. He would always be striving for more, striving for more. Why win one Mr. Olympia when you could win 7? Why just be a movie, be in the movies when you could be a movie star? He's never satisfied with what he has, and he continues this relentless pursuit of personal excellence. And I thought it was just inspiring. Now, in our industry, it's the individuals that are always looking for the next big thing that are the most successful. And I see it over and over and over again. They're always looking for better ways to serve their clients, to make their business more effective, more profitable. So if you had to take lesson number 1 from Arnold Schwarzenegger, never be satisfied. There's always something to pursue. The second thing I took from him was set really big goals. And I said, not just little goals, really, really, really big goals. It wasn't just enough for him to win. Arnold wanted to win big. As I said, anyone could have been happy with just winning Mr. Olympia, but he went on to win it 7 times. In fact, he won it so many times, he's like, I got a little bored of winning Mr. Olympia so many times. That's setting a big goal. One of the best parts of the documentary, which really made me laugh, is Arnold said when he was asked what he wanted to do next after the Mr. Olympia, he says, I don't want to be in movies. I want to be a movie star. But you'd have to do it in his accent. He set an almost impossible goal. He wanted to be a movie star, not just a movie star, a blockbuster movie star. And he set up this almost impossible goal because he didn't really speak English. But once he set this goal, nothing could stop him. Arnold Schwarzenegger movies have now grossed over $4 billion worldwide. Now, if you look at that same analogy in our business, the most successful advisors I know set huge, almost unachievable goals. They say things like, I want $1 billion under management. I want to have $1 billion under management. I only want 100 families. They push themselves to be better and better. And what's the lesson that I took out of this? It's just as easy to set really big goals than set small ones. So why not set them 10 times bigger than you would have anyhow? If you don't achieve them, that's okay. You still progressed way farther than you would have if you just did small goal after small goal. The third lesson I took from Arnold, and he said this throughout the whole documentary, visualize yourself making it happen over and over and over again. There's a specific scene in the documentary where Arnold's lying on his small bed in this little town in Austria, and he's visualizing himself going to the United States, which of course became reality. He would then say he would sit and think about himself winning Mr. Olympia over and over, what it would feel like, what he would say, how he would pose. And he would do this in his mind repeatedly over and over and over. Everything he did, he visualized it before it actually happened. And I've looked into this, and study after study of high performers, whether it's athletic or otherwise, use visualization to help themselves get better. In fact, I saw a study where if you just visualize and focus on sinking baskets, and you visualize it over and over, you will become as good as sinking basket as someone who actually does the sinking of the basket with an actual basketball. So visualization is very powerful. They review every technique, every move, every win, and then they make it come true. Now, in our business, I know many people who visualize client presentations, who visualize what their business will look like in 3 years, 5 years, 10 years. They visualize interactions with great clients. They visualize themselves with great staff, tons of freedom. And here's the lesson you should take. And it's the lesson I took from Arnold. What you think about is what happens. If you think about good things, positive things, big goals, they will happen. If you think about negative things and bad things, I'll tell you what, they will happen as well. The fourth lesson is keep track of your progress. There's a specific scene in the documentary where you see this rudimentary gym where Arnold used to work out in. And there's a wall, a big blank wall. And you see a bunch of lines, and then you see the lines crossed out. And Arnold goes on to say that every rep would be one line on this wall. And his goal was to do more and more of these lines. So he kept track of everything in his progress. And if he did that, he would get bigger and bigger and bigger. And he did. By keeping track and then setting bigger objectives, he knew he was always one step closer to his goals. In our business, the most successful people I know track the most important tactics like a religion. They know how much they spend on important activities. They know how much time they spend in front of qualified prospects. They know how much time they spend in front of their clients. They know how much time that they are spending to continue to improve. And here's the lesson that we can all take from that. What gets monitored gets done. The fifth lesson is work harder than everyone around you. There is one thing that you can say about Arnold Schwarzenegger. He works hard. There were times when his bodybuilding would take up anywhere from 4 to 6 hours a day, which I find unbelievable, but he used to. He would also then go to school for business. He would also take acting lessons, English lessons, and he had a job to support himself. I hear the excuse all the time, oh, I don't have time for this, or I don't have time for that. In Arnold's own words, you have time. If the president of the United States has time to work out, you have time to work out. It's not a matter of how much time you have, it's how you prioritize your time. Remember, everyone has the same number of hours in a day. It's just how you use them. When you work for yourself, it's pretty easy to become complacent and say, that's good enough. The problem is your competition is always working. So if you're not keeping up with them, you're not keeping up with your competition. So lesson number 5 from Arnold, work harder than everyone around you. And 6, and the final lesson, and I really like this, never give up. Arnold, as successful as he is currently, and probably has for some time, talks about all the ups and downs in his career. It wasn't all just roses. He had lots of obstacles he had to overcome. And the main one is he didn't speak English. I'm pretty sure he still doesn't speak English all that well. And yet, even with these challenges, even with these obstacles, he also always persevered. He kept his eyes on the prize. In our business, remember, there's always tons of obstacles. There's always challenges. There's always regulation and compliance and client demands and staffing and market's good and market's bad. However, all of these things are temporary. Lesson: don't worry about the obstacles. Keep your eye on the end goal. So if you haven't seen this documentary, I would highly recommend it. It's crazy entertaining. It's crazy motivational. It's inspiring, and it's educational. And now, if you have seen it, rewatch it now with the points that I've made, and it brings a whole new context to the whole documentary. And I've always said, the best way to succeed is simple. Just study others who have done what it takes and do what they do. So if you would like to talk about how these lessons can apply to your business, I would love to talk to you. Let's have a virtual coffee. We'll get together and we'll go through each one of the 6 lessons and we'll see how you stack up. With that, I look forward to doing another episode just like this and keep these lessons coming. Thanks for joining me on Turning the Page. What did you learn from today's episode? If you follow me on LinkedIn, please drop me a comment there. I'd love to chat with you about it over a virtual coffee. Send me a message on LinkedIn, or you can do so at our website. The link's in the show notes. I'm Chris Reynolds, and until next time.